Hello guys, what is up? My name is Dylan. Welcome back to the Popcorn Podcast. I hope everyone's doing fantastic. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Guys, Clara's back
Hi.
for another episode of Couples Therapy. As you can see, we've both put in quite the effort with regards to the attire for this discussion, this breakdown, dare I say debate.
Definitely a debate.
We'll see. On the latest raunchy, romance, erotic, psychosexual sports drama thriller that is Challenges, directed by Luca Guadagnino, starring Zendaya, Mike Faist, and Josh O'Connor. Challenges. Tell me about it. Were you excited?
I was really excited. I have loved Luca Guadagnino's previous films. Well, I say loved. I liked Bones and All Well. I thought it was fun. I really enjoyed going. A film I would sort of rewatch on a rainy day, enjoyed. And I really, really liked Call Me By Your Name. Thought it was brilliant. I really respect him as a director, so I was super excited to see what he does next.
Yep.
And I know you were specifically very excited for this film. You want to tell the listeners why?
I will get it off. We'll put this out there just nice and early so that everyone knows. I mean, I'm sure if you are watching and you know me personally, this will come as no surprise to you, but I'm a huge fan of tennis. Besides film, cinema and whatnot, tennis is like a huge part, I guess, of my life. Has been since I was a kid, since I was about 7-8 years old. I don't play nearly as much as I watch it, as I consume it. I follow the tour basically majority of my life. I do play socially here and there. We actually went for a hit on the weekend.
Why are you laughing? I'm great at tennis.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, do you want me to insert footage? And my sort of day-to-day job also revolves heavily around tennis, the industry, the realm of tennis. We'll leave it at that. But yeah, essentially tennis has played a big role in my life. And I guess you could say I was sort of apprehensively excited about Challenges.
Do you feel like there has been a good tennis film?
So I don't feel like there's been a good tennis film. I think there have been good films that have tennis sort of as like one of the main sort of...
Other than Challenges, what would be your top?
King Richard was, I mean, it was a pretty decent biopic. It does fall into a lot of the kind of biopic-y tropes, but I didn't hate that film. I actually enjoyed it relatively enough. I thought Will Smith was really good in it. I haven't yet seen Battle of the Sexes yet with Steve Carell and Emma Stone. I remember watching, I think it was Wimbledon, the film that came out, I think in the early 2000s, back when I was in school. Sort of that stars Kirsten Dunst and I think Paul Bettany as well. And then there's obviously the biopic-y film Borg versus McEnroe that has Shia LaBeouf in it as well, which I've seen, which is, I mean, it was fine. It wasn't anything amazing.
So you're not super thrilled about the past.
I mean,
of tennis films.
I'm always on the lookout for a tennis film and a great one at that. So like I said, apprehensively excited to check out Challenges. Should we dive straight into the film? Guys, before we do get into the film, I do need to issue a spoiler warning. If you haven't seen Challenges yet, please do go and check out the film before and then come and return to this discussion at a later time. But for now, let's dive straight into that. Ready for play?
Yeah. Ready.
So, Challenges. Zendaya stars as Tashi Duncan, a former tennis prodigy turned coach and a force for nature who makes no apologies for her game on and off the court. Married to Art Donaldson, played by Mike Faist, a champion on a losing streak, Tashi's strategy for her husband's redemption takes a surprising turn when he must face off against the washed-up Patrick Zweig, played by Josh O'Connor, his former best friend and Tashi's former boyfriend. As their pasts and presents collide, Tashi must ask herself, what will it cost to win? It's a pretty hefty plot synopsis.
It's a great plot synopsis.
Where to start with this one? So, I'm going to say it again. Apprehensively excited I was about Challenges. You were
I was excited. I wanted to check it out.
Shall we just do a general verdict, thumbs up, thumbs down, and then go straight in onto our discussion? Okay, so... On the count of 3, let's just sort of give a thumbs up, thumbs down as to whether or not we liked Challenges or not. So 3, 2, 1. Oh, okay.
So go on, dive in. Why did you like it?
So, I mean, on a whole, I quite liked the film. I think the first thing I want to say is that even though it is tennis oriented, I know with a filmmaker like Luca Guadagnino, I mean, suspicions were the film wasn't really going to be focused on the tennis. So like I already had that in mind when going into this film. And I think that was kind of the key for me to enjoy the film, was to not really, focus on the tennis aspects, because let's be honest, as a tennis film, this sucks. As of when we're recording this video, the film isn't out yet. And I don't want to speak on behalf of other people out there, but I think sort of hardcore tennis fans won't really love this film because they'll come to see, cool, accurate sort of tennis cinematic sequences, and what they're actually going to get is this sort of toxic love triangle story.
Yeah, so for me, I wasn't necessarily there for the accurate tennis film. I was there for the toxic love triangle film.
Yep.
But to be honest, didn't feel like it delivered on the toxic love triangle.
Okay.
But you did.
I did. And yeah, like I said, like with someone like Luca Guadagnino directing, with his prior work, like you said, I think he's a filmmaker that uses sort of different backdrops to explore things like sexuality, love, lust, obsession, these kind of sort of intimate human themes using these backdrops. So for example, Suspiria, the reimagining of that, he sort of used kind of dance and demons to do that. With Call Me By Your Name, it was kind of the Italy in the 1980s with Bones and All, it was cannibalism and loneliness. And here with Challenges, of course, it is tennis. The question is, does he pull it off? And you don't seem to think so.
No.
So shall we talk a little bit about the sort of general structure of the film?
Yeah, so one of the things I really felt didn't work properly was the timeline structure. So we start off in a later point in Tashi's life when she's been married for 13 years and they're like going to this Challengers competition with her husband, who's like on a losing streak, as you said. And then we flash back to when they're teens. And I really felt the pacing didn't quite work. I felt thrown out of the story rather than learning more. It didn't feel like it meshed for me.
Right.
I definitely felt as well that this is partly because the side of the story that is the later side was far, far, far weaker than when they were young. Like when they were young had definitely the most strengths. The two boys had great chemistry together, and individually with Tashi, it felt sort of like, teens both wanting to like grab life and each other and, figure things out. And it was messy and it was toxic and it was starting to work. But then it intercut with this sort of marriage that didn't make sense and didn't make sense that it had made sense for 13 years, with another sort of usurper coming back into their life that it didn't really make sense why Tashi was even giving him the time of day, let alone would sleep with him again. Like, I just really fell flat for me. And so I was sort of being jolted out of a story that wasn't too bad to a story that was just completely dead and just filled with these melodramatic, corny one-liners, I love you. I know. Like, f*** off, like, come on.
I mean, this is pretty rare, but everything you have said, I actually completely disagree with you.
Oh, interesting.
I genuinely loved the structure of this film. I completely bought into it. I like the story, the film as a whole. I was completely riveted by it. I was gripped by it. I was fully absorbed by the relationship. The structure was a massive reason why this was the case. It kind of sort of starts off with this tennis match about to take place. Mike Faist, who plays a character called Art Donaldson, and Josh O'Connor, who plays Patrick Zweig. And that these guys, because it takes place in the present day or the future or whatever, that there has been some sort of beef, falling out. There's history between these two characters. And of course, Zendaya is literally right in the middle. That shot that sort of, you see the rally happening, but you just see the ball kind of going over the net and the camera slowly
wasn't that just a bit like, oh, there's a metaphor here? Like,
I mean, yes, but the point is, it worked for me because
I felt like it worked so well the first time it happened. Like when the film opened with the music, which I know we'll get to in a minute, and the rally between them, I was ready. I was like, this is going to be great. Da, da, da. When it happened for like the 16th time, I was like, oh my God, let this metaphor die. Like, we've done it.
You see, I kind of liked it because it was kind of camp, and we'll get onto the camp aspects in a bit. But my point is, like, that whole sort of future, sort of present, current sort of match that's taking place. There's so much tension and there's so many exchanges of glances and stuff, and you don't in that moment have all the information. So for me, I was constantly trying to fulfill those gaps in myself, and through that is what kind of kept me on the edge of my seat. That's what kept me on my toes, to trying to sort of piece together what may or may not have may or may not have happened between these characters.
I guess it's not the structure necessarily that was the bad thing. It was just the fact that, because I was thinking if it had been chronological, I would have just hated the second half of the film.
No, I thought the non-linear fashion was
so maybe
was
the non-linear fashion is fine, but it did. I think I would have enjoyed chronologically the first half more and the second half less had they been chronological, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But the fact that we were intercutting was something that I just fell flat for me. The first half, I was getting jarred by it.
So your gripe here is not to do with necessarily the
like
structure,
now you say it, maybe it's not the structure.
The actual, you buying into the characters and the relationships and their dynamic.
Yeah, that's the more important thing. Okay. But I do feel like it really took me out of the beginning part, which I would have enjoyed more.
I kind of liked it because it's a Challenger event. They're playing the best of 3 sets, and the 3 sets kind of the first set would take place, the second set would take place, and the third set would. I kind of liked that because it was almost kind of mirroring that 3-act structure in a way.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. But should we speak a bit about the characters then? Should we do that? So the film's main trio is, of course, Zendaya, Mike Faist, who I first came across in Steven Spielberg's West Side Story, and I think he was terrific. We actually later saw him a little bit in The Bike Riders, which we saw last year.
Oh my God.
That's a film that's yet to come out. He plays a little role in that. I think he's a terrific actor, and he plays...
I thought the performances were brilliant. Yeah, they were all really good.
Yeah. And Josh O'Connor as well. I had never seen Josh O'Connor in anything. I haven't seen The Crown. The only thing I have seen him in is that sort of viral... It's become viral, but that, he's playing Prince Charles at the time, and he's just like, because I care about her morning, noon, and night. Like, I've seen that clip so many times. I was excited to see him to see what he could do as an actor for the first time for me. And I thought Zendaya, of course, like...
She's great.
Yeah, she's everywhere. She's great. All 3 of them were absolutely terrific.
I thought they gave everything to their characters and they didn't have a lot to work with. So I thought they did really well.
Yeah, for me, the actors did so much in terms of kind of building and creating these characters and making you feel like these were genuinely... real people with real dynamic, real dynamic going on.
I think they did the best job they could. I don't know if I ever believed any of them were real people with real dynamics.
Why don't you tell me and why don't you tell everyone why you didn't believe in?
I felt like
their dynamic.
A lot of it, I think, looking at it, comes from just the script. That I believed in the dynamic between the 2 boys, and I believed in when they were young that they were like infatuated and lustful after this gorgeous girl who's a great tennis player, this and the other, and then it becomes a competition between them. They're fighting for her, like that. Great, love that. When they all get older, they don't develop where the characters have been in life. They're sort of coasting on the fumes of what they've set up before without fully further developing it. You don't really understand why they're all still into each other. It doesn't really make sense. It's just full of these like corny, melodramatic like one-liners and this and that.
But the reason they're all sort of still kind of into each other and are all sort of battling each other sort of mentally and to a certain extent physically in this case is because they are all in the same industry. They're all tennis players. They
haven't seen each other for like 10 years.
Yeah, but look,
they haven't heard of the other guy. He's like a nobody. Why do they care?
When he comes back into their life, of course, they have a history, and it's not just like a passing sort of person in their life. That person was Josh O'Connor's character, Patrick Zweig, was an integral sort of part of
sure, but
that.
In like why, like I just don't understand why Tashi is giving him the time of day. He doesn't hold any power for her anymore, and obviously that's clearly what they've set up this character's attracted to. And then her relationship with her husband, the lust, and that makes total sense when they're teenagers, but as everybody knows, lust dies. It's not something that's gonna have held a marriage together for 13 years. You don't really understand their dynamic. They're just sort of vaguely trundling along and being sort of vaguely horrible to each other.
For me, that is the classic example of a sort of a marriage kind of deflating, and they've been together so long because she has been...
But you get no nuggets of what that had entailed. You get nothing from their next life other than him sort of like puppy dogging after her. Like it just doesn't really like there was no weight that I felt, and I just felt bored by each scene and like kind of vaguely irritated.
I think it works for me because when they're teens and you see their lives as teenagers, that dynamic was already set up. So for example, Art, he is probably the character out of the three that is the most sort of good-hearted. He's the kind of good one. Let's call him that, right? He works hard. He knows the value of good relationships. He cares a lot.
Well, clearly not.
He cares a lot for Tashi, and even if initially he's he's in competition with Patrick, and he kind of, there's a part of them that he won't admit it, but he does want Patrick to lose. Like in the, he gets jealous when he starts dating Tashi and all this. He's the good character. He's the character that
I get it. He's the good boy.
Yeah.
He's the hard worker. He's the puppy dog that follows around, and he's the safe choice for her. Fine. Yeah. So that's not much like.
Yeah, but it makes sense why his life has become so saturated. You see, when he's older, he's a much different person, and the jump between when he's a teen.
Okay, maybe it makes sense. It doesn't make sense isn't the right thing. It just didn't feel real. Like their conversations never felt real. And also they weren't fleshed out. Like what we've just said in 2.5 hours, I'm sorry, but like I'm going to get bored.
I completely disagree, because the whole point with him in the future is he's an athlete. He's a tennis player who is basically very much on the decline. He's tired. You see it. It's almost like this thing is haunting him. He wants a way out. He's sick and tired of being a tennis player. He's sick and tired of this life of constantly having to travel. He looks exhausted all the time, and because of that, he can't meet Zendaya. He can't meet Tashi's needs, and that's why she gravitates towards the sort of boy, the bad boy.
Yeah, no, he can't play a bad boy. Like he can, just not in that scenario. And also, I'm sorry, no, I'll come back to this later. But I didn't get why she was attracted to him. Like she's very good at playing.
Are you talking about
later?
Patrick?
Later, not when they're teens. Later, when she cheats on her husband.
You mean Mike Face?
Yeah, when she cheats on her husband. Like I just didn't like. It didn't make sense to me. She's meant to be coming 40. She looks about 25. She could have, and she's Zendaya. She could have the pick of any man that walked through that door. Let's not lie. And she goes for this washed up, sort of vaguely, like, dirtbag kind of guy who's mean to her. It just doesn't really make sense.
So you don't think that makes sense? You don't think the idea that someone who you have been intimate with previously, you don't think that there is potentially more than just a physical aspect? I think it's
when they had their relationship, it was like we never got to see. Like when they were teens, it made sense why their relationship ended. She was clearly sort of having fun with him. Like that scene of them in the bed, she was clearly playing with him and enjoyed it. But it didn't seem very deep. It didn't seem like there was like a deep foundation there. Why are you running back to something that seemed like a game to you before?
Well, I think basically Tashi's ideal partner, or the person she's looking for, is a combination of those two characters, a combination between Art and a combination of Patrick. The problem is she can't have them both. She can't. She's in the public eye, and morally, it's wrong.
I feel like that makes sense, but it's a reach for the film we watched. I feel like the film we watched was full of like corniness and like disjointedness, and it just didn't really fulfill that character. And Tashi was so underdeveloped.
I think I do agree with you when you say that. I do think out of the three, she was the most sort of underdeveloped character. And I think, like I said this to you after the film, was I feel like in a lot of ways she is kind of the villain in a way of the film.
She's definitely the villain of the film.
Because I mean, like, she does some pretty f***ed up shit.
Yeah, and we don't really understand why. Like, I feel like Luca Guadagnino is a smarter director than that. Like, why have such a one-dimensional character leading this film? Zendaya could totally play a more complex character. Like, it just fell flat, and I feel like it was partly her underdevelopment, and we never really saw her wrestling between these two guys. We never understood what it was she wanted properly from that. You're saying this and that, and everything makes sense, what you say. I'm not saying it doesn't. But it's a reach for the film we saw. I understand you can make a film about a fantasy, and that's fine. But I just felt like the deep inaccuracy when it came to what a woman would be doing in those kind of situations left me feeling very alienated. Like, one of what I remember when you were telling me about the like tennis inaccuracies, sorry to like jump in there, but like I mean, like, there aren't female coaches. And
Yeah,
again,
so the whole Tashi is like arts coach. I mean, it makes sense because obviously they're partners in supposedly real life there, and it would make sense why the two of them kind of go hand in hand with each other and kind of have worked well with each other.
But like, and I was Googling it, and there's literally like 2 female tennis coaches
so this is
in the top players. And even for women, like, it just doesn't happen. So what you've literally said about her being married to him and that basically being why she got the job, that would be her life. Like, people would not take her seriously. People would be like, you got this job basically because you're fucking him. Like, all of this, that would be her entire life.
Yeah.
And we don't really see any of that. She's not conflicted about it.
She's
sort of
a girl
waltzes.
boss.
She waltzes through life and has these ads on billboards and takes these business calls and, you know, wears all this designer and da-da-da-da. Fine. But like, we don't ever see this internal struggle that we sort of know is going to be there. And the idea that she can use her sexuality to gain power or with these guys' lives and never face any repercussions for that, I just felt is so like, just really alienated me just because of how, I know I get you can make a film about a fantasy, but it was just the inaccuracy of it was kind of annoying. Like, look at like Victoria and David Beckham, for example. She has her own thing, totally separate from sports. Like, it's not about that. And yet, like, fans of the stuff, like, they'll like shout, yell at her and all of this kind of stuff, and like this like slander she gets. Imagine if she worked in that industry. Like, imagine what her life would be like if that was her.
Yeah, I mean, so you're basically saying the film didn't do enough to sort of give more to the realism that
and I guess
she could be in this position. She could be this guy's coach. You know, I agree with you. I think like as a presence, I wasn't sort of picking apart the sort of reality of that situation. But when we discuss it, of course that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like 95% of tennis coaches are male. You know, it's a very male-dominated industry, and you know the industry has a long way to go in terms of, you know, promoting more sort of diversity, gender diversity in those kind of roles for sure. But it is very male-dominated, right? Yeah. So I feel like going on this, they needed for me. In order for me to believe her as a coach more, we needed to see a bit more of her coaching dynamic. We didn't get scenes with her
really
and Art, you know, sort of in the middle between where they are in the present and when they were kids,
and I think,
of his career, of how she sort of coaches him. We're supposed to believe that, you know, she's coached him to a great degree, to the point where he's, you know, about to win a career Grand Slam, which is the 3 out of the 4 Grand Slam. He's one of the top players. But that aspect for me was a little unbelievable. They needed to do a little bit more.
And I feel like if they'd shown some of that, I would have bought into their relationship more, because not only is she this like lustful figure in his life, but then she'd also be the person that gave him his success and his fame, because that's sort of what the film's like edging around but isn't really saying. Yeah,
I mean, she for me, like, I believed her much more as like this philanthropic figure and sort of girl boss. I believe that sort of more than the whole tennis coaching side of things.
Exactly.
I can believe that she's a successful businesswoman, because prior to that, when she was a teen, when she was doing juniors, you see like she's got the Adidas label and she's hosting all these parties, and you know, she is that figure. And of course she has an injury, and then her, you know, tennis becomes, you know,
I don't know, I just felt like that kind of annoyed me. And then the other thing that really took me out of the film was there was something about how it was shot that made me feel often like I was watching an advert.
Okay, so this I disagree with you on, but please go ahead. Yeah,
if it was all the product placement, which was a little bit incessant. And I'm fine with product placement, to be honest, in films like, you know, Avengers films and stuff like that, where the plot just keeps coming, so you almost don't notice.
Yep.
But with something that's like more meditative and this and that, like, it was just really intense. And also just even like, again, the like just completely unrealisticness of how they would be. You know, she like, in like one of the final scenes where she like, it's the big reveal, she cheats on her husband, they go to bed and she's, you know, fully made up, fully blown out, perfect hair. Like,
they've just been in a bloody wind flipping storm outside.
No, but like before, when she's with her husband, like, you know, sort of 8 different pieces of jewellery on, this, that and the other. And you're like, fully like completely hairless and waxed, and you're like, I mean, I get she's rich, but like, do you really want to go to bed like that? That's like hella uncomfortable.
Yeah, fine.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it just all felt a bit like, I feel like this is an ad, because it feels like I'm like, oh, I want that bracelet. Yeah, I could totally buy that.
Yeah.
Not like this is me watching a husband and wife go to bed together.
Yeah, but they aren't just any husband and wife. For me, that works because I know how commercial that industry can be. Those figures.
Whether or not it's a commercial industry, you're still not going to go to bed fully made up with 8 pieces of jewelry on and your hair perfect.
Pieces of jewelry?
Yeah, she was. She had like 3 bracelets, 4 necklaces,
she
earrings.
is supposed to be that perfect kind of
figure. People still don't go to bed like that.
Yeah, I know. Like, it's Zendaya at the end of the day. For me, I disagree because I feel like you said it felt like a product placement kind of situation going on, and you were constantly being, advertised left, right, and center.
4.
And I mean, maybe this was because I bought into the dynamic more. Maybe my attention was just more on the characters and that. But for me, all those kind of little placements here and there works because figures like this in real life, I know.
But it wasn't just the Uniqlo sponsor or the Adidas that they spoke about. It was like Dunkin' Donuts. It was like Max. It was like
the Dunkin' Donuts thing. Yeah, fine. But
it was just like, it wasn't just that, and it was just like slightly irritating. Like, it would really bring me out.
It didn't ruin the film for you, did it?
No, but it was another thing that added to my alienation, definitely.
Gosh. Okay, well. Fine. Fair enough.
Thank you.
One thing I will say is that after watching this film, the person that I have the most respect for is Tom Holland. Because, I mean, like...
Yeah, fine.
I mean, the level of just... I don't know, bro. I'm with you, man.
What? You make me sound like I'm some kind of like...
Yeah. Also, have you heard of this? Have you seen on like social media this thing about the sort of Spider-Man tennis curse? Did I tell you about this?
No.
So tennis films are very rare by Hollywood standards. We don't get many tennis films, right? But of the tennis films we do have, right? So Spider-Man, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire played Spider-Man, Kirsten Dunst played Mary Jane. She played the love interest. She then went on and starred in the film Wimbledon.
Yeah,
right? She starred in the film Wimbledon. Couple years later, after Tobey's done, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, his love interest, Gwen Stacy, played by Emma Stone. Emma Stone then goes on to play Billie Jean King in the biopic Battle of the Sexes. She goes on to make a tennis film. Zendaya... Tom Holland's love interest, MJ, in the MCU, then goes on to make Challenges. Is this the Spider-Man tennis curse? What,
is it a curse? Like,
it's not a curse, but it's a superstitious little thing going around the internet that I thought was pretty cool. But on the sort of note of like kind of style and product placement, style specifically, you weren't a fan?
There was some like coolish stuff. I felt like a lot of it was like just a bit over the top. Again, like either like an ad or an odd music video. Didn't really necessarily sit the best for me, but I know you enjoyed it. So I thought the film what the f***? I thought the film
malfunctioned.
Sorry, buffering. I thought the filming of the final bit of the tennis match was great. Like, I loved the like POV of the ball kind of thing. That was sick. And then the slow-mo kicked in and I was like, oh my God, I've never been so frustrated by a film in my life. Like, when's it going to end?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I will say that the sort of the film fan of me was far more impressed than the tennis fan, clearly, obviously, because like I said before, I think if you look at it as a tennis film, it's not great. But like as a film fan, I really actually enjoyed the way that those rallies, those tennis sequences,
the tennis
were shot.
stuff was cool.
So full of energy. I like the fact that they were almost like fight scenes in a way.
Yeah.
And it had that sort of pulpy, punchy kind of kick to it.
No, it was definitely
like
the tennis
angles,
was fun.
the sweat, the sort of glances across from the net, the camera angles, all of it combined was just made for a really, really exhilarating experience. Like the shot of the POV of the tennis ball.
Oh, I loved that.
So campy,
and with the lines when they do it from almost under the court, that was sick.
Brilliant.
Yeah. No, I feel in a way you're going to shout me down. But Luca Guadagnino had thought of a really great way of shooting a tennis match and then built a film around it.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that because for me, this is definitely his most sort of flashy film. Like beforehand, like Bones and All is a very still kind of quiet, sort of patient film.
I think I like his more meditative pacing. I think I'm not sure if he can do that.
No, I so disagree with this.
I was bored.
I thought the pacing was spot on.
I was bored out of my mind. When the slow-mo kicked in at the end, I was like, okay, I'm ready for this film to
I
end.
agree the slow-mo was a little bit sort of over the top, and at points I was just like, God, can you just like play the scene? But I liked it in a way because it just kept me there for a little longer. You know, that those specific moments is in the sort of culmination, the climax of the film. No pun intended. And I kind of
wasn't exactly. I feel like
I kind of liked that. It was like I'm like, can you just fucking play the scene? But I wasn't getting what I wanted in a way. And those moments towards the end of the film was so like I was so invested. I was so on the edge of my seat.
I didn't care who won the match. Like I just didn't.
Yeah, I didn't care who won the match either. But it wasn't really about who won the match, was it? It was about who.
Yeah, and then also they had this like this is why I mean corny and like just not really.
Go on.
Like developed that well is like they have this little signal that they showed each other where they'd put the tennis ball in a certain place to show that they'd like slept with Tashi, and like when they first did it, it was like the classic Madam Web teaching the kids CPR. I was like, ooh, this is gonna come back in the end.
Can I be completely honest? Can I admit something? I actually didn't see it. I don't know what it was. I was completely just absorbed by the film.
Like, I feel like as well though when people make films about stuff that you love, like it just doesn't matter. Like not necessarily because it was about the tennis, but it was like in the world. Like
but I didn't think that would potentially come up like later in the match when they're at the pinnacle points of their career, because when they sort of established that signal, they were training, and then a couple of scenes later where, you know, Josh O'Connor's character does, or it's revealed that he has slept with her. That's the way he communicates that. So I was like, okay, that's done. It vanished from my head. So when it came back, however many years later, I was like, oh shit! Like it was, fine. Yeah, like that.
I think I was literally in the cinema. Oh, just get on, do it. And I was like, come on, like just like let's finish this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm genuinely surprised as to how weirdly invested I was in this. I'm all for it. I was all for the drama, and on top of that, I have to mention the score by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Yeah,
I wasn't sure.
Oh my! I thought
Did you not find it slightly jarring at times?
No, I mean yes. Combined with the slow mo, when I was like, "Fucking just play the scene." Yes, but like I said,
that's kind of what I meant by music video.
Yeah, but that was like, I feel like that was like so firstly, it's this thumping sort of techno electric dance.
Again,
score.
I was really into it at the beginning, like when you first see Tashi and that comes on and it pans through the rally, I was like, and then I was like, after a while it became like, when it was through the window of the hotel, I was like, oh my God.
No. I mean, the score, the Trent Reznor Atticus Ross score works so well for me, especially in the last sort of act when they're having this climactic.
That got so annoying.
It was annoying a little bit. But I felt like that was more to do with the construction of the scene as a whole, as opposed to just the music. Like I felt like that was the thing that, because this film could have easily sort of just been like one note, a bit boring, a bit sort of melodramatic, and that's it.
That's what I felt like it was.
But the music is what makes it fun. That was like the heartbeat of the film in a lot of ways for me. Like I was there, but I was like trying to like rave in my seat. Like, I was so for it. Yeah, I thought it was terrific. I loved the music. And can I just say something? Like I was at the office this morning, and I put that music on the Trent Reznor Atticus Ross,
keep you
and
awake.
I had a coffee in the morning, and I was like, I felt so alive.
One last thing I want to touch on is, but did you feel like it was a little bit memey? It was definitely memey. Do you feel like it was the erotic film that it was sold to be?
Yes.
Interesting.
You don't?
No. I feel like it had some scenes that like were obviously like sexual or like sex scenes, but it didn't really do anything that interesting or different with that.
Right.
Well, they weren't. I thought, although obviously a lot of the time was the guys looking at Zendaya, so we had a lot of like shots up her legs or like of her butt and stuff.
Yeah.
But like they were we never saw anyone having sex. Like it was never really about anything that interesting or different sexually.
Do you see, that was actually why, and not to counter your argument again, but that was actually why, because I feel like if you just gave the audience that kind of relief, not relief, but like answer, if you just had sex scenes, I think like it would have just made the films a lot more one note. I feel like for me,
saying just have sex scenes, but like they didn't do anything new or interesting with it.
No, but it's like even the first time when you find out Patrick has slept with Zendaya, you sort of find out through Art's character, and you there's like these information gaps which I kind of liked, but even in the scenes when they're interacting,
that was a good
I feel
scene.
like Zendaya's like the sort of sexually charged nature wasn't so much with Zendaya. It was the
between the boys, like
the homoeroticism in the scenes where they're sort of in the sauna and all these kind of like the sweat and all that stuff. And I think like all the nuance and all the kind of the sexually charged nature of the film comes in those small moments. And like they're having a conversation about tennis, but it's built around like the aesthetic of it is so like psychosexual in nature that it has this additional layer of depth that you don't need characters to kind of explain, that you can kind of put that together. Like it has this twisted, toxic love triangle situation going on, but it never has sex as the main focus of it. It's always as an afterthought. It's always in the background. And I thought that was so effective.
To be fair, actually, I think what you said about the sexual tension between the boys is really interesting. I guess I just didn't feel it with, other than like quite basically with Tashi. Like it was quite a basic like thing. Whereas I think you're actually so right thinking about it. That was really clever.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I ask you for a list that that you've been talking about that I know?
Oh yeah, the list. But this is just me being annoying, guys. So I do preface. I did like the film. If you haven't told already by this conversation, I did like the film. But like I said, I feel like the film fan in me was much more satisfied than the tennis fan, because as a tennis film, I don't think this film is quite as great. And at points in the film, I couldn't help myself like looking and pointing out these inconsistencies in my head. So like, here are some unrealistic tennis sort of things about challenges, in my opinion, that I found. And I'm only saying this because I'm annoying, and here we go. So the first thing I said, I thought was about the whole challenger sort of setup. Like Tashi's gonna send Art into this challenger event because he's on a losing streak. I get that he's on a losing streak, and he's coming to the end of his career, and sort of she wants him to have this confidence boost in a way. But I mean, I'm sorry, like someone who is a 3-time Grand Slam champion, someone who's in the top 10, someone who's operating at that level of tennis. Sure, there are upsets in tennis here and there. You have it every now and then, but would not struggle to win a challenger event, in my opinion. Like, or even like the fact that he's playing it in the first place. Like usually if tennis players are falling off and they need a confidence boost, they play like an ATP 500 or 250 event. They don't go all the way down to a challenger event. But I thought that was also simultaneously something quite interesting about the film, I will say.
And also, do you think it'd be just so jarring for everyone in that competition? They were like, I had a chance of winning this, and now fucking like Nadal is here. Like, what am I meant to do?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like a lot of the sort of my little pet peeves with the film, a lot of little gripes as a tennis fan, was like just the general things of like, I know these guys are actors, and they're Mike Feist and Josh O'Connor, and they're terrific actors. I have to say this beforehand, but like as someone who watches a lot of tennis, like just things like I'm no great tennis player, but I'm just saying like the things like their form, or like how Mike Feist bounces the ball. Like his ball bounce was so jarring because it was like and I'm like, oh dude, a pro tennis player doesn't do it like that. Like some points you could see the kind of CGI faces on the actors a little bit. One thing that our good friend Isaac pointed out to me after the film as well, he said like the angles at which they were hitting and making contact with the ball,
it wouldn't have gone that way, and it just further like the whole digitalization CGI of the ball, like the ball wasn't there. The balls weren't there. I mean, I don't know if you agree with me, but I definitely felt like when they were watching Zendaya playing tennis, she was being fed balls, like they weren't coming from the angles that would have been in
exactly.
The match
I thought Zendaya, I believed, like you're supposed to believe
you're
like
supposed
the kind
to,
of
be
angelic
and stuff,
like,
but like
her character is more of this kind of sort of thematic kind of thing, like as opposed to
a real person.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say you would say, I would say, but like the Zendaya thing was like, there was a rally that she had in one of the matches we saw earlier on in the film, when we're shown from the perspective of the two boys, and there was some rallies, right, where she was hitting winners every single shot. And what I mean by winners is a winner is obviously just a shot that is almost unreturnable. You're going to win the point after hitting that point. And those shots, like she was hitting winners every single time she made contact with the ball with her racket. And like the point just kept going on. It was like 30 plus. I was like, I'm zoned out a little bit. Like I love the intensity and I love like the focus on her sort of mental sort of position in that
and I thought she did very well as like an intense sport player, and her scream at the end, like that was all she did. Like, I mean, I have no faults with the acting. I thought they did amazing.
And on the subject of points, there was a point towards the end of the film between the two guys, between Art and Patrick, where they were both at the net, and they were net sort of playing for about, I want to say 7, 8 plus shots. That does not happen. At most, you're going to do like 5 shots and someone's going to get a pass. You can't, there's no way. That's like flipping like the Flash or like Spider-Man reflexes. Haha, Spider-Man again. But yeah, there's me being annoying. Guys, if you can think of any other tennis inconsistencies or annoying little pet peeves that you had with challenges as a tennis fan, do let us know in the comment section down below.
Okay. Can I play my game?
Ah, yes. We can't forget about the game segment. So we have some games.
Yeah, and I've come up with a game. And my game is Dylan's been sort of professing that he's this great tennis fan.
Hello. Have you not witnessed first
I know he is.
Every single night? What do we watch when we have dinner? Tennis. What do we watch when we have taken a break? Tennis. It's tennis. All day, every day.
If you can. What was I going to say? Yeah, but when we first started dating, you said you could tell all the tennis players from their grunts.
Oh, God.
So was that a flex? Who knows? But let's see if it's true.
That's kind of sad. You don't feel like it's sad? I watch a lot of tennis games, so I mean, I don't know how well I'm going to do with this game. So you're going to test me on players' grunts?
Yeah, I'm going to test you on players' grunts.
I don't know what this says about me as an individual. Have you got male and female players? Or just male? Okay, that's Nadal.
Yeah, what?
But Nadal has the most recognizable grunt in tennis.
Amazing, can't even lie.
Is that all you got?
Okay, got it.
Is that Azarenka?
Yeah.
She also has an infamous grunt. That's Sharapova.
Yeah.
Sharapova is the most famous. Oh, that's Sabalenka.
Yeah. Okay, this is the last one.
4 out of 4.
I'm actually quite impressed. It has to be said, I'm quite impressed.
That's Alcaraz.
Yeah.
There you go. Done. Is that it? 5 out of 5, 100%.
I mean, I did big people, but even so, I'm very impressed.
Oh, gosh.
That's hilarious. Okay.
I'm gonna throw you a game now.
Okay, let's go.
I got 100% on that game.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
I don't know if that's like great or sad. I think maybe both simultaneously. So my game is called Saltburn or Challenges. And
interesting.
It's a bit of a this or that game. Well, it is a this or that game, but I feel like it's going to get compared a lot to Saltburn. Challengers is going to get compared a lot to Saltburn. It does just have that kind of psychosexual sort of energy to it, that viral kind of appeal that I know like...
Slightly homoerotic.
Yeah, like Gen Z are going to go crazy for this film on social media like they did with Saltburn. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying by any means that these two films are the same. They're completely different genres and whatnot. But yeah, in many ways, I actually think Challenges is kind of like the more sophisticated, more established kind of
He's wrong.
Second cousin of Saltburn.
He's wrong.
Okay, but we'll debate then. So on that note, we are going to play Saltburn or Challenges. First up, the writing.
Saltburn.
You think Saltburn?
Definitely. It was funny. The dialogue was good. It was natural. The dialogue in Challenges was not natural for most part, except sometimes between the boys.
I feel like it wasn't
funny.
I'm gonna say I feel like the writing in Saltburn was more pronounced, but writing as a whole is more than just the dialogue and whatnot, in my opinion.
Yeah, the characters were more developed. They made more sense.
Were they? I disagree, but I'm gonna give it to Challenges just because I loved the structure of it. I think the screenplay going back and forth between past and future was a stroke of genius. So writing, you're going...
I don't know, I don't feel like it was done in the very new way, like flashbacks has been done before.
Yeah, but it still was it had a more interesting structure than Saltburn. Saltburn tried to do a non-linear thing at the very start of the film and was like, ew. It
had a little prologue. It had a little prologue, but at least it was funny and witty, and it's hard to write funny.
Yeah, but it kept flashing back to Barry Keoghan as a psychopath in the future, sort of narrating the film here and there.
Yeah, there was a bit of narration. It wasn't like a time.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It was just
time.
That. It was just that.
But just unlinear time build a great script? No.
Yeah, it did. But well, I mean, I
know you like it. Like, and Nolan's obviously a genius when it comes to that. But other films have flashbacks, and it's just a bit like fine. Yeah,
but like I said, the whole structure worked for me because in the future I was waiting for the information that I was missing, the context that I was missing. And that's why both those scenes, both those timelines complemented each other so well. In Saltburn, you just get the narration as this takes place in the future. He's narrating over it, of scenes where the film is just one kind of film. So it doesn't really...
I felt like this, firstly, that effect was completely lost on me. I didn't get that from Challengers at all. Like,
you're just boring.
Well, you're boring. Not like Saltburn.
Okay, so... Next up, cinematography and aesthetic.
Oh, Saltburn.
Oh gosh,
you have to give it to Saltburn.
I like Saltburn. Once again, can I be honest? I'm gonna, and this is not just me having Challengers bias. But
oh my God.
I do actually think Challengers, because I felt like with what the aesthetic they built,
that's so dead. Most of it was like an advert.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, but like
dead
I said,
shots of hotel rooms. Come on.
This is why I prefer Challengers, right? Because the aesthetic builds into the intensity of the scene. With Saltburn, it was just pretty and looked cool and flashy, but didn't really show us like.
But it met with the decadence of the film and the decadence of what he wanted. Like, this was all his fantasy, and it was kind of crazy and nuts, and he wanted this decadent life.
Yeah.
So the film was shot that way.
Yeah, but okay, how about this? Yeah, I feel like Luca Guadagnino, when you're watching a Luca Guadagnino film, the cinematographer is great, obviously, shoots on film, whatnot, but when you're watching a Luca Guadagnino film, because I feel like him as a director has such an imprint on the cinematography, on how it's filmed, on the stylized nature of it. If you take Emerald Fennell, she's a director that has not established her style whatsoever.
But I'm not asked, the question was not what's the director's hand in it. It was just the look of the film.
But my point is, the look of the film for Challengers, for me, was working hand in hand with the direction, like, way more. If you want to say what's a prettier film, sure, Saltburn. But for me, if you take the aesthetic out of Challengers, if you take that sort of techno element out of Challengers... That's the music. Okay, fine. Sorry. Not the techno element. If you take like if you took
the fun tennis match out, it would be nothing.
Okay, well, I guess we're going to agree to disagree.
Yeah, we're going to have to agree to disagree.
So, speaking of techno, music.
I don't remember Saltburn music, so I'm going to give it to Challengers.
That's the right answer. I mean, like, Saltburn music was good, I think. Was it?
I don't remember.
It just had some tracks. And it had that one
the song, the use of the song. I mean, that went viral.
Oh yeah, Murder on the Dance Floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
But like, yeah, I'm all for original scores, so I'll give it to Challengers.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, I think Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross should get an Oscar.
Oh my God, I can't believe you didn't give the aesthetic to Saltburn. Like, what the hell is wrong with you?
No. Okay, next up, cast and performances.
Yeah. Oh no, but Rosamund Pike.
Rosamund Pike was really good.
Oh, Saltburn, sorry. Carey Mulligan.
Carey Mulligan was in 2 scenes.
Yeah, but she was hilarious.
Are you actually going to give it to Saltburn?
Yeah. The things that let it down is Barry Keoghan's accent, but that wasn't his fault. They shouldn't have given him an accent.
So I didn't even mind Barry Keoghan's accent.
No, I'm giving it to Saltburn, sorry.
Nah, I feel like... I don't know. I feel like, once again, I think the actors in Challengers did a much better job with their... Yeah, which is extra props.
Worse script.
All right. Yeah, I feel like they made those characters. They had such a big sort of influence on their characters, like in creating those characters and making you believe in them and that dynamic. And for me, Saltburn was just like good actors saying lines. As apart from Rosamund Pike. She was like the standout character because she made that character with those lines and whatnot. Everyone else was kind of just saying their lines, and they were very good.
No, I totally disagree. I think Barry Keoghan's performance was amazing.
Barry Keoghan's performance is good because he's a brilliant actor.
So what about the others?
But if you take Barry Keoghan's performance in Saltburn versus Barry Keoghan's performance in like Banshees of Inisherin, the difference is like day and night. You can like.
Oh, I think he's brilliant in The Banshees of Inisherin, but I think he leads Saltburn amazingly. I think he's brilliant.
I agree. I just, yeah.
I think his performance is amazing. I think Rosamund Pike's performance is amazing.
I feel like after this episode, we are actually going to have to go through couples therapy. Editing.
Yeah, I don't remember it well enough. I'm going Saltburn because the editing jarred me so much in Challenges with all the slow-mo and that it lasted too long on scenes. I was getting so irritated by the end of that film.
I mean, Saltburn, like, what was there even editing?
Would you? As in, like, if a good edit is an edit you don't notice.
Yeah, sure, but
if I'm sitting there being jarred by how long a scene is taking to finish, that's a bad edit.
But I don't think it was the edit that was bad. It was just like that was part of the whole, I wouldn't say charm of it. You clearly weren't charmed.
Not charmed.
No, I kind of liked that it was a bit off. I kind of liked that it was a bit jarring at times because it reflected the nature of the characters.
Okay, sure.
No, I mean, just for the fact that the editing was distinct in Challenges and it wasn't something that I'd seen before, I'm going to give it to Challenges because it did something new, I feel. Saltburn, like...
I feel like it didn't do it intentionally.
I feel like it did it intentionally. There were moments in, like, some scenes where it would, like, kind of just cut unapologetically and it was kind of just, like, off-putting a little bit.
Yeah, it was really off-putting. It was another thing that was really alienating.
I don't know. Directing. How well did the films come together? I mean, I think both are pretty well directed.
Yeah, I think they're really well directed. Both are pretty well directed. I mean,
like I said, I can only base my answer, which is Challenges, off the fact that good direction is like all the sort of nuances, like some things that you don't really see, but you know are there, and like the smaller things to focus on. Whereas, like, I mean, I think Emerald Fennell did a great job, but I think Luca Guadagnino, like the characters themselves have these nuances, like the fact that, I don't know, Mike Faced has a one-handed backhand and Josh O'Connor has a two-handed backhand. They're complete opposite styles. Josh O'Connor's character, Patrick, has a weird kind of serve because he's a bit of a sort of bad boy. He's a bit like out there. It's all part of building these characters, and I can see that director's influences.
I thought both are well directed. I thought what was interesting about Saltburn is when I was like listening to Emerald Fennell speak about her process with the actors, that a lot of things were like improvised, or she'd like whisper instructions to them to get things to be fresh, to have real shock. And I like hearing new and different ways to get like work with actors. And I think one great thing about film, because I was looking into some other films, doesn't matter, is that you can capture someone's first reaction on camera, which is obviously totally different to like theatre and other forms, that like you get that intimacy of a genuine reaction. And I think a director that plays into that, I think that is really interesting, especially for a film as shocking as something like a Saltburn. So I do really appreciate that.
I think what's nice about this, we can come in the middle and shake hands on this, is the fact that both directors are doing something that they genuinely just think is fun, and they're just having fun with the story. No,
totally, and I appreciate that they both tried something new. They both tried something out there. Fair enough to both of them, even if neither of them hit quite right for both of us. Yeah.
Second last category here: standout scenes.
Ooh, standout scenes. So, the final tennis match.
I feel like it's difficult because Saltburn has been out for a while, and I kind of know all the kind of the standout.
I mean, there's scenes that are my favourite in Challenges that aren't necessarily standout scenes.
Okay, well, go on.
Like the scene when he tries to manipulate his friend when they're teenagers and say that like, oh, Tashi doesn't really like you that much. That one I thought was really well done. Felt there was like a really like toxic energy there. And the scene of them in the sauna together as well, like that kind of, you really feel the like, he wants to be powerful but like doesn't quite have it yet. Yeah. I thought those two scenes were really great. I don't know if the standout scene probably in like The Populace will be the like threesome that wasn't a threesome scene.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the viral scene.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like one of my Saltburn for me, like I loved it on the first watch, and then it just really sort of didn't grow. It really rubbed me the wrong way after.
To be fair, it definitely thought it was smarter than it was.
Absolutely, and I feel like a lot of the scenes in Saltburn rubbed me the wrong way because they were just doing it for shock value only. Like the whole, I understand like Barry Keoghan's psychopath character wants to almost like consume Jacob Elordi. That's why he sort of slurps his stuff in the bathtub. That's why he, fucks the grave. But yeah, those scenes for me, and like the final sort of scene where he's dancing naked around. It went viral, but went viral, and I think it was a good scene. Like I think it was a brilliant scene and legitimately like hilarious, kind of off-putting.
I feel like that for me worked better in terms of the narrative than, for example, like him f***ing the grave.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's like he's conquered the place.
And he's like. Yeah.
So like, Saltburn definitely has more of a viral nature to it just because it has been out for longer. We don't know what challenges of effect is going to have. But I think for me in challenges, obviously you have the first time the three of them sexually interact with each other, which has been played in the trailers and R.I.P. Tom Holland and whatnot. But then you also have the tennis match at the end, the final set, or the final couple of points where, your POV is the ball. That was an incredibly disorienting experience. Cool. I thought that was one of my standout scenes. And like, I don't know. I want to rewatch the film. I have an urge to rewatch challenges and see if I feel any different about it.
Alone. Sorry.
Okay, and the final category, better film.
Saltburn.
You think Saltburn is a better film?
Yeah.
I disagree. I think Challenges is better.
I enjoyed Saltburn. I didn't enjoy Challenges. I want to watch a film that I think is fun.
Better film.
For all the reasons I said. I didn't like Challenges, but I enjoyed Saltburn.
But you cannot like a film. Like I don't like.
But the reasons that I said weren't just because I didn't agree with the film, which I sometimes don't like films because I don't agree with the film, but I can recognize it's a good film. But what I said about, the characters being underdeveloped, it being jarring, me thinking that like the advertisement, product placing, and the way it was shot was alienating, all of those things I don't think are great in terms of filmmaking.
Well, that's just like your opinion, man. Yeah, okay. Well, look, it's pretty clear from this debate, conversation, discussion, war, battle, tennis match, conflict thing we had for the past however long that you are definitely more Saltburn. I am definitely more Challenges. I'm interested to check it out again, see if the charm wears off on me, because that's definitely what happened with Saltburn. So I acknowledge that might be a possibility, but
we shall see.
Let us know in the comment section down below, guys, whether you are Team Challenges or Team Saltburn. To my understanding, you have another game.
I have another game. Do we have time for another game?
Yes, we have time for another game.
So, in the spirit of, films with a love triangle, you need to guess these films that are all about love triangles.
I don't know. This is going to be so bad.
From the actors that play said characters in love triangle.
Okay.
Okay? Does that make sense?
Sort of. I'm going to do so badly at this.
Okay.
Go on.
So we'll start with an easy one. Renée Zellweger, Colin Firth, and Hugh Grant.
Oh, Bridget Jones-Zoe.
Lovely. Yeah. Olivia Colman, Emma Stone, and Rachel Weisz.
The Favourite.
Oh, I'm going to do so bad.
Yeah, but these ones are easy.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Give me some juice. Give me some.
Paul Henreid, Ingrid Bergman, and Humphrey Bogart.
Oh, Casablanca.
Lovely. Teo Yu, John Magro, and Greta Lee.
Oh, Past Lives.
Yeah, really good. Oh, hell, I don't know what to say his name. Kyle MacLachlan?
Kyle MacLachlan? I don't know who this person is. Watch it be like Tom Hardy. And he's like, Kyle MacLachlan?
Laura Dern and Isabella Rossellini.
Mulholland Drive? No. Blue Velvet.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, what the hell? Sorry. David Lynch malfunctioned there. Yeah, sorry.
Tony Curtis, Jack Lemmon, and Marilyn Monroe.
Oh my gosh, why am I going blank? Oh my gosh! What's the name of the film? Oh my gosh.
Yes! Go on, you didn't know.
Oh my god, I've gone blank.
It's like basically her most, maybe her like...
I'm trying to remember the name of it. Why am I going blank?
Some Like It Hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Some Like It Hot. Some Like It Hot's such a good film.
Is that it?
Yeah, it's everything.
Okay, well, thank you for hosting that. Thank you for being the host of the Popcorn Podcast for...
Games Master.
And we're going to conclude the episode, guys, on some good old Letterboxd reactions to challenges. So first up, we have Patrick. Oh, Patrick. Fancy seeing you here. Tell us, did you win the match or not? Okay, I'll shut up. Patrick has given the film 4.5 out of 5 stars and says, "May thy racket chip and shatter."
Okay.
I see what you did there. Patrick. Vasily has given the film 5 out of 5 stars.
You just picking good ones?
No, there are some bad ones in here.
Okay.
And just says, "Average day for Wii Sports players." Do you remember Wii Tennis?
I was so good at Wii Tennis. It's almost like it wasn't real tennis.
Yeah. Well, you keep you be a pro at Wii Tennis. And, let's see if you can transfer some of those skills in the actual court.
Sure.
Sydney gives the film 4.5 out of 5 stars and says, "Hey, we saw you from across the tennis court and really dig your vibe. Do you want to engage in a biblical level throuple over multiple decades?"
That's quite good.
Tyler has given the film 5 out of 5 stars and says, "Boy, oh boy, did Zendaya, Mike, and Josh serve." See what you did there, Tyler. You're clearly not a fan of the tennis puns, are you? Riley Jordan has given the film 2.5 out of 5 stars. You clearly like this person more already. 3 insufferable people play a long and largely meaningless tennis match accompanied by great music.
Fair.
Well, I agree with the second half of your little review, Riley.
I agree with the first stuff. No, I'm joking. It wasn't like...
A. Ferguson has given the film 2 out of 5 stars and says this movie thinks it's better and cooler than it actually is.
I definitely think that.
I think that about Saltburn.
We knew that already.
Hunter Strawberry has given the film 4 out of 5 stars and says, "Balls and all." 2024. Victoria has given the film 2.5 out of 5 stars and says, "If I see one more slow motion shot, I swear."
That's a woman after my heart.
Doug Dillerman has given the film 3 out of 5 stars and says, "Sometimes a churro is just a churro. This is not one of those times." The churro scene, though, I will say
that was the one I meant.
The churro was significant in the film. Like, when Luca Guadagnino films food in films, the peaches and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like there's.
Oh, you spotted the Easter egg with the peaches in the film.
Oh, yes, I did. There was a peach.
Yeah.
Where was it? It was like
there was like a bowl,
There was a bowl of peaches in one of the shots of the film. I was like.
Yeah.
I was like Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Oh no, Leo. You know what I mean? Yeah. So Griffin Newman says a movie primarily about ears and necks. There was a lot of close-ups on the ears and necks. I will say that. Stacey has given the film 3 out of 5 stars and says, "Call me by your game." Nice one. Buddy O has given the film 4 out of 5 stars and says, "Came for tennis balls, left with blue balls." Lorenzo has given the film 3.5 out of 5 stars and says, "The zone of Zendaya's interest." What is all these like play-ons of
Also, I get the "Call Me by Your Name," the like comparison to zone of interest.
Yeah, that was quite a jump. Yeah, let's just say. Cinemonica has given the film 4.5 out of 5 stars and says, "Someone pick my jaw off the floor. Come on." All right, Monica. Jess has given the film 3 out of 5 stars and says, "The last tennis scene gave me whiplash." Me too.
Yeah.
Marshall has given the film 4.5 out of 5 stars and says, "Leave it to Luca Guadagnino to make the horniest sports movie of all time. And we love him for it." Good for you, Marshall. Adrian Movies has given the film 3.5 out of 5 stars and says, "Prayers up for my boy Tom Holland." Yeah. And finally, Harry Argyle has given the film 4.5 out of 5 stars and says, "A couple of cucks fighting to be Lisan Al-Gaib." And we finish off with a Dune review. Well, on that note, game, set, match. Thank you, Clara, for coming and talking, arguing challenges with me. Guys, like I said before, do let us know if you enjoyed challenges, if you give it a thumbs up, if you give it a thumbs down, you're just somewhere in the middle. We'd love to know if you're Team Clara or you're Team Dylan. Comment it down below. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode of Couples Therapy / The Popcorn Podcast. Cheers.